Noontime on another Wednesday here at the Rant Network. I'm David Solomon. I am traveling. This is not my usual location nor my usual background. Actually in sunny Florida, or soon to be rainy Florida, or so it's called rainy Florida. Like I'm used to not saying that anymore. But believe it or not, I'm only a handful of miles away from my friend Stuart. But we, at the Rent Network, we get together virtually over the phone. We talk about all these rents. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to complain about? And there are those who love to listen to us who really don't like our positions on things and question us and challenge us, demand facts, and they demand that we do certain things. We be more, real. Well, I don't know, Stuart, about how much more real we can be than when it comes up to crime. Crime has gone through the roof in so many democratic cities, and it's just not ending. We're seeing repeat offenders. We're seeing the worst of the worst. And it seems that Democrats keep saying, vote for us because we're here to protect you. But it ain't happening, Stuart. What's really going on there?
Dave, there used to be checks and balances, whether it's Canada or the US. And recently, we've seen not just an uptick in violence. I think it's clear to say that we've found a culture of violence. And these cultures are becoming more and more daily in these very left woke cities than anywhere, most of all, more than anywhere else. If you were an elementary school teacher and you had kids throwing spitballs at the teacher, and if the teacher didn't put the kids in line, the kids would continue throwing spitballs at the teacher. And if the principal of the school didn't want to hold the kids and call their parents and hold them accountable, this would get worse and worse and worse. Why am I talking about elementary school kids? Because it's something that most of us can relate to. Because it's very easy to understand how elementary school discipline should or should not be. But when it comes to a group, David, that you brought up in our conversation, James Revenge, and no, not James Addiction. That was my mistake. James Revenge, like any good terrorist organization, claims, right? Claims responsibility. Now, the definition of claiming responsibility is going, hey, Mr. Police Officer, I'm the guy that egged your car. Okay, that's vandalism. That is admission of guilt. And the district attorneys don't want to prosecute the muggers, the knifers, the shooters, the active shooters, the robbers. Hey, what the hell? Why should I think that I can rehabilitate you by saying, don't do that again. Well, it doesn't really work. And back to our James Revenge, if you are a group in a country claiming to cause terror to another group, it's called terrorism, actually, David. And when you claim that responsibility of at least 18 attacks on crisis pregnancy centers or a faith-based organization, right? It would mean you have done something and admitted to doing it and should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But instead, these prosecutors, well, the FBI is looking into it. Listen, are you spending your time, money, and resources going after a president that probably, like before, will go unscathed? Or do you want to be the one going after saving tens of hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals freely going and worshiping the way that they want, that their rights are. So the left is saying we should be able to do whatever we want, but whatever you want, no, not so simply put. And it's funny, the judicial building has made no mention of Jane's Revenge. I haven't heard of that. Dave, until you brought this up and I did some digging, I haven't heard of this anywhere. And I'm watching news 24/7. Dave?
Yeah, and Stuart, you brought up some really good points there, and here's the frustration. Okay, take a look at what we're dealing with today, and you could be in any city and whatever. You have the police who are frustrated as hell. They've had their they have been blamed for years, and it was for all kinds of different attacks, black on a white cop on an African American, taking out a gun every time they have a report. They have to stand in front of the media, and it's a living nightmare. And the police have basically said you can't recruit police officers. And by the way, even in Montreal, right now, as I said, we have an election coming up, and our premier has said, "I'm promising you. Remember, this is a political promise. We're going to hire more police." But the academies can't recruit because what's going on in our cities today, especially left-leaning cities, and mine is also become very woke in its philosophies. Stuart, it's become a point where police just do not want to be part of the of the judicial system because, like you said, they're going back on the streets. They're being attacked. The police has to do more to defend itself than defend the people in many cities. Not an attractive job anymore. Then you go to the next step and you're talking about the DA. So here you are, you do all this work, and you have some left-leaning DAs, like there's the guy in New York whose name escapes me, who decides petty crimes we're not going to prosecute. And so what ends up happening? There end up being these crazy murders at fast food joints of teenagers. Okay, and we've seen this during this new mayor's, term here, and it hasn't stopped. So the more the frustration is that, and here's what happens. You look at what happens at our friends our liberal media friends. I love these guys because they love to skew the messaging in such a wrong way that they say that the only hot topic that matters in 2022 is Roe v. Wade. It's abortion. The entire country, only thing that they care about is Roe v. Wade. Now, I'm not saying that people don't care about Roe v. Wade. I'm not saying that people don't care about abortion. But go talk to the people and you find out crime is freaking the hell out of people. And I believe that this November, Stuart, people are going to vote and there's going to be change.
David, skipping over New York and talking about George Soros and talking about people saying, oh, it's a woman thing. Oh, it's an anti-black thing. I want to bring your attention to Chicago, Illinois, where Kim Foxx, the woke DA, right? Where you have the woke mayor, both black, both female. So, was it under, I don't get it. In history, white people have said that black people are causing more damage to the black community than the white community ever could. And they're black leaders that echo this statement, right? Whether it's a former housing secretary of the United States or whether it's a guy from Hollywood just talking about this issue. But when Kim Foxx gets rid of cash bail, when Kim Foxx lets murderers, thieves, gunmen out on the street, where are they going? They're going back to do what they did because Kim Foxx and Lori Lightfoot won't do a damn thing. And
But
I
why
mean,
would they?
and that's
But
Chicago,
Stuart,
Illinois, by the way, that has the
why would they?
highest murder rate in the country.
Stuart, because they don't want. But this is the whole thing. And whether they're African American, they're white. I don't care who's in power. Power corrupts. Power, and they'll sit there and they're going to tell you, trust me. I love that one. Trust me. Vote for me. Put me back in office. I'm going to protect you. I want to look at track records in San Francisco, in New York, in Chicago. The funny thing is that they're very quick to point the fingers, okay, at everybody else, every red city, every Republican city, and say, you know what? Look at that, how bad they are. Look at them. Look how bad they have managed things. Right now, the city of Chicago, sorry, Washington, pardon me, it's a state of emergency because now we have an immigration crisis. Like, you know what, guys? I have to tell you, what did you discover? Is that all of a sudden we have all these immigrants, we have potential for more crime, and we don't know what to do with it. You don't know what to do with it because you don't take this part seriously. The part of crime, the judicial system, you said, should we hold judges accountable? Absolutely. I couldn't agree more that we must hold justices,
Yeah.
the district attorneys accountable for what's happening in the streets today. Now, unlike in Canada, we cannot vote in our judges and we cannot vote in our DAs and all that kind of stuff. They're there in perpetuity thanks to our system. But your system, you can. And I would seriously want to vote them out. This power that they're enjoying is gone to their heads. And they're messing with people to believe that you are now safer than ever before. Look, I heard the excuses, by the way. Now, you got to understand, crime's not really up. Inflation's a problem. So when inflation's a problem and people can't put food on the table,
You go to New York and you rob a bank, and Alvin Bragg, the other Soros DA from New York that you were looking for his name, gets just 1 year, and then it gets reduced and downgraded from there. So, I mean, if you can't make a living, just fucking rob a bank is what this DA Alvin Bragg is encouraging.
this is the thing this is what drives me insane, is that what are we really doing here? We're putting in smoke and mirrors.
No,
and we're trying to convince the
promoting
electorate.
private security. All these assholes that are saying defund the police got private security. They don't give.
Well, that's the fun part. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
They invested more in private security. They invested more in structural security, but they don't. That's the thing. And again, look, politicians be politicians, and I'm generalizing that most politicians really just care about the power and the votes, and they don't really care about you and me and whatever. It just upsets me to no end when I hear a Democrat mayor, a Democrat sit here, and instead of pointing the finger and being accountable, I haven't heard one mea culpa saying, you know what, we let you down. I haven't heard one time saying, you know what, we've made it worse for you. We're going to make this better, and here's how.
David, I'm going to give you a closing remark to my famous cousin that we talk about every single broadcast. Where we talked about the hate towards the British and not allowing them a time to mourn the loss of the Queen. But more importantly, he said, prove it. Rupert, I hope you want to prove this one, because, if you cannot believe that we're here basically reviewing, lines that are news. Walter Cronkite, who we talked about a long time ago, said, you need two sides to get the whole story. And in that, David, I'll give you the last word and we'll end this broadcast. But that is the most factual statement that you could have. And the left would have you believe only my version counts.
Well, but Stuart, and having been in the media for 12 years, couldn't agree more. But reality is, Stuart, crime, for them equals more votes. So the more crime that there is, the more they say, vote for me so I can protect you. That's the veil that they've tossed on people. And if those who are listening, certain cousins are listening, who don't believe us, please look at the crime rates right now in certain cities. San Francisco is going to overturn itself because of what's happened. It's not a fluke. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of our quarter hour. We're done for our hump day. We are going to be back on Friday for the last round of the